my book In Her Own Sweet Time. It's about the search for love. It's a memoir. I used to live in Manhattan, and now I live on a houseboat a couple of docks away. And this is a story about that originally appeared in Outside Magazine, and it became a chapter in this book called Adventurous Single White Female Seeks Hottie. And it's about a sea kayaking date on the Hudson River. My date is waiting at the crowded bar when I arrive. He's wearing a bright orange shirt that screams bachelor for too long. I'm already thinking of exit strategies, but decide one drink can't hurt. He's from New Hampshire and once worked as a ski instructor in Colorado. Now he's a freelance film editor. As the martini buzz comes on, I start feeling a faint attraction. I like the way his arms look. There's nothing more romantic than watching the sun go down over the river and the lights come up on the Manhattan skyline, I say, overtaken by the drink and the idea that this might make great copy. I was writing this for Outside Magazine. How about kayaking the river at sunset, he proposes. Perfect. The weather stays warm all week until the day before our date, when an Arctic front sweeps in. By the time I show up at the Manhattan Kayak Company on a pier off the West Side Highway, the temperature is 30 degrees, the coldest day of the year so far. Instead of gazing longingly into each other's eyes over Irish coffee in front of a fireplace, we are shivering in full wetsuits, orange life vests, and wool hats. While the fast-talking, silver-haired owner of the company and guide, Eric, is describing our mile-long round-trip excursion in a double kayak from 23rd Street to the Port Authority Ferry Terminal on West 38th Street, I'm praying we don't capsize. We head north under a chemical orange and red sky, barely crawling against 3-knot currents. I'm up front. My date is in the back, breathing hard and struggling to steer us past the twisted, rusty iron pier that used to house the New York Department of Docks. It just happens that the exact time of sunset is when the currents are the strongest today, Eric yells to us. The currents are so strong that they're pulling us backwards into a whirlpool that looks like it's going to suck us under. My date is barely speaking to me. I can't figure out whether it's because he's the strong and silent type or because he's so scared and winded he can't talk. We're definitely in a bad spot. When the river squeezes through a small vent near the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, it collides with the force of the Atlantic Ocean, creating a powerful counter-clash of currents. The dynamic appears to be happening right beneath us. The first thing I think is this may be a good test of our potential. The double kayak has a long history of being the marriage or the divorce boat, Eric yells across the waves. If the person in the front isn't setting a good pace and the person in the back has a hard time staying on stroke, you have to stay synchronized. You have to work as a team. I think it's too hard, I shout. Let's not give up, my date shouts, emerging from his silence. Eric points us towards what he dubbed the nest of ferries, a technically challenging 250-yard paddling sprint across the major ferry thoroughfare between Manhattan and New Jersey. To avoid getting caught in the wakes, or worse, running smack into one of the giant vessels, crossing the section of water must be carefully timed. Only a half a dozen people can successfully make it across at rush hour, he announces cheerfully. Rudy and I do our best, weaving through the pylon remains of an old dock. Watch to your left, Eric shouts. I look left and see a huge wave crashing, the wake from a monster ferry crashing towards the side of our boat. I momentarily panic, imagining the headlines of the New York Post. Single white kayaker struck and killed on internet date. She could have done better, witnesses say. I paddle hard to the right. My date does the same. And we turn the kayak just in time to face the approaching water, then gently surf over it. The ferry captain sticks out his hand to signal that he sees us. This is getting fun, my date says. An hour earlier, the gray fortress of the ferry terminal seemed impossibly far away, but now we've actually reached it. Eric directs us to turn around and head back to the kayak company. We steer south, catch a swift current, and effortlessly glide on the water. The sky has bruised to deep purple. Glimmers of reflected light from the Empire State Building and the chrome spire of the Chrysler Building skip off the jet black water. Even though we're only a few blocks from the blaring horns of Times Square, it's absolutely silent by our boat. Eric congratulates us back at the dock. You guys worked well together. My date smiles at me and asks if I want to go grab another drink. Even though we've done well on our adventure, the shot of adrenaline hasn't inspired any real sense and romance in me. He's nice, but flat, and besides, it's hard for me to really connect with him when the reporter in me is thinking constantly about what great copy this date will make. But we did just accomplish quite a feat, so I think we deserve a celebratory martini.